moving. Just like have a comfortable discussion with you all. So Beth was going to talk a little bit about a healthy lifestyle and keeping our kids moving. She has a presentation we'll put on after this one.
Yeah,
So
if we can handle that technology part, yes.
yeah, we're not technology.
Well, and there's just so few of y'all that we can, kind of talk about what we put on our PowerPoint, but then we want to give y'all also the opportunity to chime in and ask questions, and y'all can kind of guide us in what you want to hear, what you want to know, what questions you have. Because some of the stuff that I put is just kind of my soapbox ideas about movement, and having been in physical education for 25 years and raising two athletic kids, like it's all just my what I've learned from 25 years of doing this. So whatever questions you have, and y'all, you can kind of guide us and ask questions as we go.
Yeah, I think we'll both kind of reference our own kids too.
Yeah.
I have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old, a boy and a girl. They're both athletic too. We talk a lot about healthy eating with them. So the first thing we kind of talk about is like being a role model for your kids. What you're eating, they're gonna eat. What they see you, your choices, they're gonna make similar choices. And then like picky eaters, like with my son, he's completely different from 5 years ago. He wouldn't eat anything, and now he tries everything. It's just kids change. Keep trying if they don't like things. And then we talk about talking to your kids about being healthy, praising them if they do choose something, good. You're making a great choice. You're giving your body what it needs. Like for me, I really play on like my daughter's personality. She's super competitive. And so when we pick our snack after school, it's like, what's going to make you the best athlete today? She's a big softball player. And so she just finds a lot of joy in like, picking the best thing that's going to make her the best. And then we also talk about like overly sugary and overly salty foods, like how it makes you feel bad. One thing you can do with your kids is make food fun. Conversation I had with Sarah a couple weeks ago, we were just chatting about our kids, the way they eat, and something she said that I thought was good. She said that Aria always wants all the colors on her plate, so she likes her food to be fun. And then Sarah said that, yeah, purple. Yeah, she wanted something purple on her plate. And Sarah said, they had eaten all over the world, and so she just was such a good eater because she's tried so many different kinds of foods all over the place.
I'll add something in here. I think it's important to not deprive your kids of something, because I found that when you do that, when you say, under no circumstances can you have sugar cereal, let's just say that, it makes them want that more, or even sugar in general. I mean, you could even go as far as saying you cannot have sugar. Then I feel like you're gonna find your kid like, stealing people's Halloween candy and hiding in their closet and eating candy. So everything in moderation. When you say under no circumstances can you not have such and such, they're gonna want such and such. So you can put limits on stuff, obviously, but completely depriving your kids of something can sometimes backfire.
That's my son. I have two 8-year-olds, and that sugary cereal is not something we buy. And he said, "Mom, can you just buy it and we can only have it on Saturday morning?"
Yes.
And I said, "Okay, I can, like, that's a compromise I can live with."
Yes, that's great.
And I also know you're not going to go to school and be tired because you've only had,
right,
this one thing.
Right. We would do that. We spend a week in Galveston every year. And I would say you can go, when we go to the grocery store, you can pick out sugar cereal, you can pick out junk food that we would never have normally. But for that week, and it's kind of like, on Saturdays you get this. So I think that's good stuff.
On Saturdays we get bacon. We don't eat fruit week. This is just, it used to be the food pyramid. This is like more the model that they're playing. half your plate with vegetables and fruit, half with healthy protein and whole grains, healthy oils. You can find this on the internet. I mean, it's just the new way of looking at it over the old food pyramid that.
I have a question regarding lunches, like to sending things to school, like on the parent conference, I found out that kindergarten, for example, has lunch at 10 in the morning. So I didn't know that. So then you send like chicken and rice and blah, blah, and all you see, like she opens that thing at 10 in the morning, and it's probably not what you want to eat.
Yeah.
Are there ideas on, because then you switch to like, okay, let's do pancakes. Then it's like, okay, where's your problem?
Yeah.
It's gone, and where do I fit it?
Yeah.
Of course, you can put it in the afternoons at home or whatever, but then you debate on how much they eat during dinner, like if they do activities or whatever. So are there any type of guidance depending on knowing those schedules on what are healthy choices to send?
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard with the kindergartners eating so early.
Yeah, they eat at like 10:45, and so then they would have an afternoon snack. So I would almost say like pack her normal stuff, but then say, hey, why don't you take your chicken and rice for your snack?
Okay,
If it's more appetizing.
Yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah, because when Buster said, we eat at 10, I was
Yeah,
like, that's
they'll do-
probably why I'm
So
getting
they'll
my
do the
lunch
snack in
back.
the afternoon to balance that out.
Okay,
So maybe flipping those.
okay.
Yeah. I'd
Also,
even
a lot of
talk
people
to her.
have seen us send things like cheese cubes and crackers and little bites of like,
That's a good
you
idea.
know, like a charcuterie almost.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like fruit skewers,
Okay,
things like that, like, you know, like.
that sounds better.
We do that, and we
Yeah,
we
so
call it
like-
homemade Lunchables,
It's like brunch.
and they love it.
Okay,
There's so many great ideas on Pinterest too to make it easy, to make her so cute,
okay.
like so fun.
Are you worried that she's not gonna eat it because it's early? Is that?
Well, I was getting it back,
uh-huh.
so then I started putting things that were more breakfast-like, then I was getting concerned about her not getting enough protein.
So she, as a kindergartner, they probably don't even realize that this is early because they wake up early, they get to school, they do so much before 10:45 that to them, this is lunchtime. To us as adults, it's like, what? I could never eat chicken and rice at 10:45. But to kids, they don't, the timing of it, especially kindergartner, they haven't put it all together. Like it's a little early for chicken and rice. Like they're not that
Okay.
sophisticated in their thinking.
What you said, just send it in and see if she eats it.
And it may just be the chicken and rice that she doesn't like. Maybe just change it up a little
Or
bit.
the kids are so finicky.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was just something that we like to do at our house. We kind of make it a game. Every Friday we go out to dinner and each person gets to choose what they want to eat, but we always pick something different. And so it just gets our kids eating different things. Like my daughter will always want to go eat Asian food, and my son's a little more picky, but it gets him to try other things and it makes it fun for the family. That's one thing I like about the school is like seeing all the kids bringing the different cultures of food because I love all different kinds of food. And I grew up in Houston and I was very like meat and potatoes, very kind of sheltered in my food. And when I met my husband, he got me out of that. And so it's fun to just keep that going with the kids.
And sometimes you'd be surprised.
Yeah. I mean,
My-
I'm surprised sometimes with my kids.
My
like,
kid from the time he was 2 was like, no green, no green, like very adamant, no green. And we lived in Egypt, and one of the cultural foods in Egypt is called malahia, and it's like, it's kind of like a combination of spinach and aloe vera. It's like slimy, but green, and you blend it and you put it like a soup over rice with chicken. He loves it,
It's great.
but he didn't eat green.
Uh-huh.
And it's like this, you could pick your spoon up and it would like slime drip off it. Like I will not do it. But you'd be surprised at some of the things they'll find that they actually,
It takes work then.
It does.
To do that, you know?
it does. And they'll still ask for malahia. We've been back for 2 years.
Make it.
Not well.
Well, that's the thing about eating healthy is that it's hard. It takes work, you know? It's really easy to grab fast food. It's really easy to grab a package of something, you know, to really instill
It's very hard.
and to get greens and to do all that, you have to plan, you have to prepare, you know, it's not always easy.
This is just a quick video, just talking about how food affects the brain. I thought it was pretty interesting. Because when we think about food, we think about our weight, we think about our heart health, but we don't usually think too much about our brain health. So I just thought this was interesting. And lots of good videos on the TED Ed website, just to show your kids too. Like, our kids are always on their iPads looking at stuff. There's really good videos.
Oh, are we gonna get sound? It should.
Oh, yeah.
If you sucked all of the brain and broke it down to its constituent nutritional content, what would it look like? Most of the weight of your dehydrated brain would come from fats, also known as lipids. In the remaining brain matter, you would find proteins and amino acids, traces of micronutrients, and glucose. The brain is, of course, more than just the sum of its nutritional parts, but each component does have a distinct impact on functioning, development, mood, and energy. So that post-lunch apathy or late-night alertness you might be feeling, well, that could simply be the effects of food on your brain. Of the fats in your brain, the superstars are omegas 3 and 6. These essential fatty acids, which have been linked to preventing degenerative brain conditions, must come from our diets. So eating omega-rich foods like nuts, seeds, and fatty fish is crucial to the creation and maintenance of cell membranes. And while omegas are good fats for your brain, long-term consumption of other fats, like trans and saturated fats, may compromise brain health. Meanwhile, proteins and amino acids, the building block nutrients of growth and development, manipulate how we feel and behave. Amino acids contain the precursors to neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that carry signals between neurons, affecting things like mood, sleep, attentiveness, and weight. They're one of the reasons we might feel calm after eating a large plate of pasta, or more alert after a protein-rich meal. The complex combinations of compounds in food can stimulate brain cells to release mood-altering norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin. But getting to your brain cells is tricky, and amino acids have to compete for limited access. A diet with a range of foods helps maintain a balanced combination of brain messengers and keeps your mood from getting skewed in one direction or the other. Like the other organs in our bodies, our brains also benefit from a steady supply of micronutrients. Antioxidants in fruits and vegetables strengthen the brain to fight off free radicals that destroy brain cells, enabling your brain to work well for a longer period of time. And without powerful micronutrients like the vitamins B6, B12, and folic acid, our brains would be susceptible to brain disease and mental decline. Trace amounts of the minerals iron, copper, zinc, and sodium are also fundamental to brain health and early cognitive development. In order for the brain to efficiently transform and synthesize these valuable nutrients, it needs fuel and lots of it. While the human brain only makes up about 2% of our body weight, it uses up to 20% of our energy resources. Most of this energy comes from carbohydrates that our body digests into glucose or blood sugar. The frontal lobes are so sensitive to drops in glucose, in fact, that a change in mental function is one of the primary signals of nutrient deficiency. Assuming that we are getting glucose regularly, how does the specific type of carbohydrates we eat affect our brains? Carbs come in 3 forms: starch, sugar, and fiber. While on most nutrition labels, they are all lumped into one total carb count, the ratio of the sugar and fiber subgroups to the whole amount affect how the body and brain respond. A high glycemic food, like white bread, causes a rapid release of glucose into the blood, and then comes the dip. Blood sugar shoots down, and with it, our attention span and mood. On the other hand, oats, grains, and legumes have slower glucose release, enabling a steadier level of attentiveness. For sustained brain power, opting for a varied diet of nutrient-rich foods is critical. When it comes to what you bite, chew, and swallow, Your choices have a direct and long-lasting effect on the most powerful organ in your body.
That was interesting. We were just talking with Jen too. She said she noticed Kenzie came home and her mood was really off and she opened her lunch and she hadn't eaten her lunch. So we just notice it throughout the day when the kids aren't eating well, they're not functioning as well. And
Do your kids eat breakfast?
my
And it may be that they don't now, but they might as they get older. That could change.
I don't like breakfast,
Uh-huh,
yeah.
uh-huh.
and I see my kids the same.
Well, I skip breakfast too sometimes. To make sure whatever you start your day with needs to be healthy because that's what's gonna fuel you.
I tend to fast, but I do offer breakfast to them, but I don't force them because I do recall my mom was a breakfast person and eating breakfast. Like when I went to college, that was the most redeeming thing that it was not
That you
gonna
didn't have
But you didn't have to eat it.
that I didn't
Yes.
have to eat breakfast.
Yes.
So I do offer it and I try to make it easy. So it's like a bowl of fruit that you can even take it into the car. You want to sleep in,
Right.
so the breakfast doesn't really interfere or take
Right.
anything away from you. So a banana, or have something that may be handy. Sometimes they take it, but I do even notice that even in the weekends where like, okay, we did crepes. I'm not like, they wait until later in the day, 10-ish, to actually eat something. And I don't know, my husband is a breakfast person and it's a regular debate on how important it is for them to either have it or not. I just don't wanna force it. I
Yeah,
just-
don't
you guys
force it. Yeah.
Eat the banana.
Yeah.
Before you get to school, otherwise you're not gonna fit.
Don't force it. And it could, like I said, it could fluctuate. Your kids could like breakfast and then not like breakfast. And then just as they get older, I will say this, as they get older, if they are really athletic and they do a lot of stuff, someone once gave me this advice and I've taken it and I think it's important. Let them eat whatever they want in the morning. As they get older, as they get into their early teenage years and into their teenage years, you know, people would say, well, you can't have chips for breakfast or you can't have whatever for breakfast because that's gross, that's unhealthy, but as they're burning a lot of calories when they get older, he told me, let them have whatever they want. Any kind of food in the morning is better than no food in the morning. Like I said, when they're young, it's fine, they may bounce back, but as they get older, let them eat what they want. It may be something weird and gross and unhealthy, but as they get older and they're burning so many calories, anything is better than nothing.
I let mine choose. So on the weekends, I say, what do you want for breakfast next week? Because we have the same thing every day. I can't manage that. And that helps, but I have one breakfast eater and one not breakfast eater. Lately, she's been choosing though chicken minis, but they're not chicken. We don't go to Chick-fil-A every day. They're the little rolls that you bake on the weekend, and then the Bear chicken from Costco that I put in the air fryer and then just have in the fridge. But then she's getting protein in the morning, right? Like she'll usually leave some of the bread, but she's eating the protein.
It's good.
And then one thing I was going to say too is her brother, he gets like stuck on one thing. He'll eat it for like a year, right? It was oatmeal in Egypt. Then it was breakfast burritos, but like just an egg and a slice of cheese and a tortilla. This morning he asked me for oatmeal again. He hasn't wanted to eat that for like 2 years.
Cold.
So it comes back
Yeah.
too though, right? Like it cycles back. I haven't offered oatmeal in a long time because he hasn't wanted it, but it cycled back. And oatmeal is a great way to start your morning. So
And I don't know, like Athena, we have a lot of little ones, their parents complain that they don't, eat breakfast and they're really worried. They'll be like, they haven't eaten breakfast and they will eat their
not awake
snack.
yet.
So I'm like, and we have snack time early, it's like 9 or 9:30 in most classes. So most of them, like, they eat up that morning snack and we serve usually either fresh fruit or protein. And then if their parents send something additional in for snack time, they eat them too. And I know, I think for little kids, sometimes a big meal, they say that you just need what, a tablespoon of food per year of the child, I think is what a serving is. I mean, it's a tiny amount of food and we give them like these huge portions that can be
Yes.
really overwhelming. And
Yeah.
so to let them kind of snack when they're little, I feel like it's more successful to get them to eat.
Glad to hear that.
Little
'cause
and
I do-
often.
Yeah, little and
Little
often.
and
Yeah.
often.
Exactly.
Because I do break it into the lunches, so I have like a food or whatever, whether it's chicken or pasta or whatever, and then I have one for vegetables and one for fruits, and they're completely separate, so if they feel like either or, they can just, and then a snack.
Yeah.
So I think that helps, but there's always that debate of the breakfast, so I'm glad to hear that it's not life changing.
And somebody once told me to, like, they'll eat when they're hungry,
Exactly.
which I can see.
Yes.
But sometimes you freak out because it's been a long time. They've not been hungry. But they're like, if you look at the like eating patterns, sometimes they'll eat a 500 calorie day when they're
Yes.
little, and sometimes they'll eat 1,000 calorie day or more than that. And so it kind of like,
And that's the same even
Ways.
as they get older. You know, they may eat a lot one day and not another. I mean, that's totally, I think that's totally. normal.
I do too. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say, that happens a
Totally
lot,
that
so
way.
I do
try to like
Right.
fit them into something that it's not necessarily, yeah.
So my son will not eat meat at all, which I'm fine with because I'm pretty much the same way, but he does eat breakfast. However, he does go through the periods you're talking about, and he's a big kid, you know, and sometimes I'm shocked at he eats nothing. And then, you know, a week later, he can't stop eating. But it's always been a worry of mine that trying to get protein into him. The doctors keep saying, look at his height, he is fine. But it's very stressful because he's so picky. He is the pickiest eater last year in kindergarten. He had peanut butter and jelly every single day. It was what he would eat. I was fine with that because it had some protein. But he just does, no matter how hard we try to vary his diet, he's like, no go. So I hope that will change.
It's hard
How
not to
old is
get
he? You
frustrated.
said first grade now?
Yes.
Yeah, he's still so young.
Yeah.
Yes, and peanut butter and jelly is a great thing.
Mhm.
If he loves that, he could have it for dinner sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
I had
Like,
to
that's
give
the
up
thing.
the like wanting them to eat varied for
Mhm.
still sometimes, right? Like if he wants to eat oatmeal every day for the next 6 months, it's healthy.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
giving
gonna
him
complain
nutrients.
about it. Let's
Right,
just
yeah.
eat it.
Have you tried fish? Like,
Yes,
I have
so-
an older one that she basically doesn't eat meat either, and I have the same protein concern. But she's always been a sushi lover. So I eventually ended up saying, well, learning how to pack it, and I will send her sushi, like sashimi, edamame, and the ponzu sauce in the lunchbox, and she will eat it. I'm like, okay, I'll take it, fresh salmon. But I don't know if that might be an option.
So he has started to eat fish. Woohoo! Fried fish.
Hey, that is a step.
It's a
Yeah.
step is how I've looked at it. So I'm making that a lot for dinner. Oh, also he added coconut shrimp. So we're making little
Yeah,
headway.
it's hard to not get frustrated, but like I had a very picky eater and he's 13 now and he's night and day. I mean, from
Yeah,
5 years
mine
ago.
too. I could have sworn we were on a bland hospital food diet.
Yeah.
I think if it wasn't white, he would eat it.
Yeah.
It was horrible. The rest of, I mean, he was the only one in our family that was like that. And eventually, I mean, now he's, you know, almost there like, "Oh, if I do sushi, whatever. I mean, who are you?
But yeah,
There's
so
a lot.
much
They do
changes.
grow and
Yeah, they
change. And the
change,
other
yeah.
thing that really helped him with vegetables was like he was at a school where when he was younger, where they had a gardening class and they grew vegetables. So he came home and was like, I've never had these radishes. They're the most delicious thing. You've got to try them. I discovered radishes because he had grown them. I was like, okay, yeah, let's have them.
Yeah, I do
But
have
like
to
sometimes
say,
involving them, it's funny, but it helps.
we planted a garden. We have the last 2 years and he is outdoorsy. So he loves to plant things. It's been great. The other day, he grabbed some kale just right off and was eating it.
Oh,
And I
there
was
you
like,
go.
Wow.
I think he told me about it last year.
Did he? Yeah, I probably did.
It really is.
So if he tries it, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a little I wanted to talk about at school with the kids. And I think we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I was talking to one of the teachers that monitors lunch and she said, I just can't get over like how many kids get the school lunch and throw it away. They're not eating it. So I think, just asking them every day, hey, what'd you have for lunch? And checking in with them because she's like, I
The
see
school
so many
lunches
kids.
or lunches that
The
are sent?
Both too. And she said, I'll see some of the kids take their lunch from home and just throw it away. Eat one thing out there and throw it away. So it's just something she was observing. That's like something I do with my kids too. What did you eat today? Because they do eat school lunches and I make them tell me,
Yeah, and pack what they like.
Yeah.
You want them to eat. You don't
Yeah.
want your kid to be the one that's throwing
throwing
it
it away.
away.
'cause they
So
like-
talk to them about, is there something in your lunch that you didn't like? What did you like the most? And, sometimes my kids would say, Johnny next to me had such and such. Can I try such and such? So, just having that communication with your kids, I think helps a lot.
Parents will be surprised, because I had that. Madeline was bringing a fantastic sandwich. So I sent a note to Madeline's mom, because I was like, what is in on your
Yeah.
sandwich?
Yeah.
It was a ham and cheese sandwich. It was just out of this world.
Yeah.
So she sent me the brand of the ham, the brand of the cheese, and now I sent the same fabulous
Yeah.
to school. I was
No,
like,
that's a great tip though.
no
It
difference.
is.
And
We
she
see that
just
too.
laughed. She was like, I'm glad you asked, because now I'm gonna be asking the same question. I'm like, exactly.
And just like to Athena, there is a little bit of a difference that teachers eat with the students, they all eat together. So
can observe
their
it
food
more.
doesn't get thrown away, whatever they don't eat gets sent back home. So parents have a good idea
yeah.
on what they
Yeah.
ate. And with the school lunches, just because of the age of our students, we have a lot of communication with parents. If we see that a child is getting a lunch from the cafeteria and they're not enjoying the offerings, we definitely have that communication because of course the teachers want children to be well fed
Sure.
and well rested,
Yeah.
like we all do,
Yeah.
so that they can be successful in school. It's important.
I think it's been a bit of a change too with the kids now after COVID eating back in the cafeteria. They have a little more freedom. Oh, I'm gonna eat that today. Throw it away. So just communication with them.
I love it, like great. The kids
Yeah.
warm up.
If there's
Last
something they
night's
like.
dinner.
Yeah. Just talking about our weight with our children. If you're thinking your child is overweight, also, I've thought that with my own child, and he's never been overweight. Just he's a little pudgy now. And always speak with your doctor. My son's always been on track, but
But don't talk to your kids about it.
yeah,
Do not bring up weight.
Yeah.
Do not bring up size. Do not bring up, you can say, let's make a healthier choice, or
Mhm.
let's get out and play. Let's get out and run.
Mhm.
But never talk about weight
Or
with your
diets,
kids.
too.
Yeah.
Diets, do not put your kid on a diet.
yeah.
You don't, if you're on a diet, you don't need
Yeah.
to talk to your kid about your diet, no.
They remember it forever.
Yeah.
Like, if you
What if
remember
they
it.
bring it up?
Then it's important
a
to
hard
say
one.
there's
Yeah.
a difference between being healthy and dieting or something like that. We just want to make healthy choices. We want to be active.
But the doctor always talk about the kids, about their weight, about their everything. In this country, it's something like kids also get to know because it's not face to face.
Yeah, and they hear.
I mean,
people
I would
talking about
just, as a parent, I would say, these are the healthy choices that we're gonna make as a family. These are the things, and I'm in control because I go to the grocery store. So, if you're in control of what you're bringing home. The other thing is, just get your kids out and moving. If they're moving and they're active and they make healthy choices, that's it. Don't talk about anything else. We as parents are the leaders there, and you can steer conversations to be healthy eating habits and just being active and playing outside. End of story, especially at an elementary school age.
Yeah, it really can stick with them forever. I was talking with one of the teachers and she was just telling me about how her mom would talk about her being overweight and her basically saying that she was fat, and it's stuck with me my entire life.
Yeah.
So I just don't want to
Even
use those
one
words.
comment, they will
Yeah.
remember one comment that you happen to just say in the car. They'll remember it. So be really careful about diet, about weight, about what they look like, about how their clothes fit. really be aware of that.
I do feel like my pediatrician tries to be like veiled, right? They're twins and one is very skinny and one is broad. And so the conversation is totally different when we go for well checks, but of course, you look at their, line or whatever. And she's really good about trying to talk in code, like when we talk about things, and then if we need to address things more, I usually will like send them out with their dad or if he's there with me, so that I can ask her more direct questions, because I don't want them to hear that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
took my daughter a couple of times the nutrition. She's taught from her, she knows everything.
Yeah.
Then after we get out from the doctor's office in the car, she keep asking,
Yeah.
why she said that, mommy, why she said that.
Yeah, and they're
So it's
curious.
Really, yeah, they have curiosity.
My,
So
well, and I was recently on a liquid diet, and
sometimes
even that,
I myself take her to the doctor. Her dad is busy. So
Yeah.
I cannot send her out
Yeah.
at all
Yeah.
because all the doctors.
send a message later. But I was on a liquid diet, and that's the first time they've really heard that word in our house. And so then they'll say, well, on your diet, and I'm like it makes me cringe because of, we all grew up in like the same period of like the dating or the dieting culture. And so it's one of those things that I now have to like get it back out of their vocabularies, because that was a specific thing, right? It was a specific time for a specific purpose, but it's not what we do, right? We just make healthy choices. So
I think too, if they watch you have a healthy relationship with food, then they're gonna have a healthy relationship, everything in moderation. If they see you being like, sugar's bad, you can never have sugar, then you always want what you can't have. So you're teaching
I
them.
think in the
one
classroom,
thing.
the teacher says something, they listen that. They come
The
home,
donut school.
they say, okay, my teacher said that, I need to do that. So I think it's not only parents. I think
no,
teachers
yes,
also
of
need to
course,
say that
of course.
this is healthy food for you.
Yeah.
You need to eat this, eat your breakfast
Yeah.
or this and that, like fruits, vegetable, whatever. So I think that will help
Mhm.
kids more encouraging to
Yeah.
eat.
And that's what
Mom,
we do. We
I-
like,
I think you guys have been doing a great job. I have one that has been going grocery shopping and checking all the labels.
that was elementary.
Yeah.
You didn't get that
was
yet.
Well, innovation,
I was
they
like,
talk a
all
lot
of a
about
sudden,
food.
sugar grams are
Yeah.
something to check out. And I'm like, I love it. I
Yeah,
guess.
that's innovation lessons
Radio
are paying
sticks,
off,
now
yeah.
it's Bible.
Yeah.
So that's been fantastic because they became conscious about something that you maybe try to say in a different way.
Yeah.
But because they do realize, like in my case, the one that brought it up is the older. And I mean, she's in third grade, but she came home a few days after the first days of school. And she was like, why are my skirts longer than everybody else's? And of course, was because it was a size bigger. It's not like she's super chubby or fat, but she was not fitting on the 8, so I had to put it on a 10. So I went shortened the skirts. But of course, she noticed that something was different. Somebody was putting ponytails on the side of it, and she was like, I can't do that because my belly button will show. So we did have to have the conversation. I mean, she's a swimmer, she's a dancer, she's pretty decent about what she eats, but of course she gets into Halloween candy or whatever. So it's been a tough topic lately on how not to talk about it, but still help her.
And there's nothing wrong with eating Halloween candy in moderation.
This
You
is the
know, I
donut
mean-
school. Everyone brings Chipleys for their birthdays. So.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's totally fine to have a donut on a Friday or,
I call our teacher's lounge the walk of shame. Like,
Yeah.
it's so bad.
Yeah.
You walk through it, it's just.
There's always. But we call them sometimes foods. It's a sometimes
Yeah.
food, right? Like, we're not gonna have donuts every morning for breakfast. It's a sometimes food, right? Once a month, we'll go get donuts.
Yeah, like Dana said, just be a role model for your kids. You eat healthy, then
yeah, thank you. Yes, okay, we'll just kind of transition into exercise and activity. My slides are a little bit broad. I have something on there about organized sports and activities and when, in my opinion, it's age appropriate to start that sport or activity. Sometimes parents start their kids too young and they think, I want to get ahead of the game. I want my kid to be good at sports. And so I'm going to start them really early. Again, it kind of backfires. Yeah, they can burn out. And so let's see, what do I have? Obviously, it's important to get moving. And I'm not, I'm not one who's saying that everybody should play an organized sport or activity, but kids should get out and ride their bikes. Kids should get outside and play. And when I'm teaching kids, a lot of times many times we talk about getting outside and playing, whatever that looks like, going to the playground, kicking the ball with your brother, whatever they enjoy, roller skating, jumping rope, whatever piques their curiosity and their interest. Help them with that, have conversations about, what do you do in PE that you like, or what activity would you like to do, instead of, well, I'm going to sign you up for dance. I'm going to sign you up for baseball. I'm going to, have the conversation with them because they know what they like. Okay. So I did want to talk a little bit about sleep, because just with activity, sleep is so important too. And I don't know that kids get the sleep that they need. And I'm a big, big proponent of sleep. I was, really, really hard on my kids about like, it's time to go to sleep. My daughter actually, who's 16, was just laughing about that. And getting enough sleep, I think, is so important. And the more activity they have during the day, it's going to help them sleep at night. So, it says here, between 6 and 12, they need 9 to 12 hours of sleep. Sometimes that's hard, and they're not going to get it every night. If you've got an older kid that's got a game or an activity or something, you're not necessarily going to get it every night, but I think it should be the goal. And I think having a routine is really important. Having a nighttime, bedtime routine is going to help with everything. But again, getting them moving during the day is going to help. And then taking a shower, reading a book, going to sleep, having the same bedtime routine every night, I think really helps. And then obviously, that's what I just said, just, having a lot of activity.
I have a friend who's a dietitian, and she said sleep was like one of the number one indicators of health.
Yeah.
Like more than food and exercise.
Yes.
Well, not if you're sleeping, you're not eating, right?
Well, and how are they at school?
Mhm.
If you send them to school with 6 hours of sleep, we as teachers and the whole class is going to feel the effects of that. And your child is going to feel the effects of that, because all they're doing is thinking, I'm so sleepy. It's really hard, even us as adults, if we don't get enough sleep and we're trying to focus on learning and performing. That's a really hard ask of a kid.
Mhm.
It really is. I mean, you really can help your children out so much by giving them the opportunity to sleep.
Mhm.
And also, I'll say this, you know that saying, never wake a sleeping baby. So I also have that theory with teenagers. And I have friends who will wake their teenager up. You're sleeping too late. I don't believe that. My kids are very active, and never do I wake them up. And there are times when my 14-year-old comes home from school and sleeps and then wakes up and does homework or whatever. That is okay. I am, again, a huge believer in sleep, because what's their body telling them? Their body's telling them that they're tired and that they need to sleep. Who am I to say, get up and don't do that? No, that's what they need. So, as long as your kids are active, there's a flip side to that. If your children are not active and they're on the iPad all day and they're not eating healthy, then you don't want them to sleep all the time. But if your kids are healthy and, physically active, as they get older, let them sleep. If it's 10 o'clock on a Saturday and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want my kid to be lazy, they need it. Their body's telling them that.
How intense, I know they do PE 4 times a week.
Mhm.
How intense is it? And my question, it's more about me trying to identify, because mines do a lot of activities. Not all of them are physical, like they play piano one afternoon. So I know that day doesn't count, because by the time we get home, it's like, so the P for that day actually counts. And that's a conversation that I had with my pediatrician when we were talking about the weight. She was like, just make sure that she's doing a true PE.
Mhm.
She swims Mondays and Fridays, for example, but she dances on Saturday, but it's only truly a physical activity. So it's like, okay, are the other days, for the other days, is she truly doing something? Sometimes I get concerned that, okay, we don't have time for you to go ride your bike today.
So it depends on the unit. It depends on what we're in.
Okay,
You know, in some units, she's gonna get more cardio than in
Okay.
others.
okay.
We really try to get them moving. You know, I sometimes I wish I could have like a pedometer on them in PE, and for that 40 minutes, I want to see how many steps they're getting. We really try hard to get them a lot of cardio, but again, it just depends on the unit. If we're in a basketball unit and we're kind of working, yes, they're moving, but they may not be moving as much as a chasing, fleeing, and dodging unit
Okay.
or something.
Well, the funniest side of the story is that right after that conversation, she came home one day and she was like, PE's torture, we're running around. I was like, that's the answer I needed.
And it'll change. It may be, you know, sometimes it is torture, you know, like there is a lot of running, and then 2 weeks later, it's
Okay.
something different. Just
Okay.
depends.
And I will fight the fight to keep 4 PEs.
Yeah.
Oh,
Me
please.
Because
too.
they need
They
it.
need it.
I mean, they went down to 3 that were longer,
Yeah.
but it's not the same.
Yes, it's not the same.
Several years ago.
My daughter say, they made us to run in this hot weather. It's so
Oh,
hot."
she's not used to it, yeah. And then it
Now
got
it's
cold.
cold.
When she came to see me, I was like, oh, now it's cold, honey.
Yeah, yesterday she was really a sore
I
throat
know.
and said, don't do PE today because I wanted to keep her inside.
Yeah.
But they made her to stay outside.
A lot of weather changes for her.
Um,
Climate change.
One thing that I would also really encourage, and I mean, I've said it, but playing outside, playing with neighbors, playing with friends, going to the playground, at this age, it's what they need. They don't necessarily, and I'm kind of touching on this, they don't necessarily need organized sports. What they need is activity and creative play. Your kids are in school all day and they're listening, they're learning, they're obeying their teacher, they're standing in line, they're doing this, hands behind your back, bubble in your mouth, now do this. They need to move and be creative outside, really important. It's really hard for kids to do all these things during the school day, and then you take them to their baseball practice and everybody listen, now put your elbow up like this, now throw like this, now catch like this. Now that's really hard for young kids. So if they can go to a playground, get with friends, play outside, front yard, backyard, anything like that, where they can come up with stuff themselves. If you live on a street that you have good neighbors and friends, and that to me at this age, you know, I would say from 5 till, you know, 10 at least is so important. They figure stuff out with each other. It's great interaction. It's learning things. It's making stuff up. It's who's listening to who's the Indian and who's the chief and who's the, you know, like who is in charge and who is, all of that social interaction is so important. But I did this, again, this is me with my 25 years and 2 kids of this is what I've come up with. Soccer is the best age appropriate sport for young kids. They run, they kick, there's not a lot of rules. There's not a lot of, you know, just don't touch it with your hands, basically. Just run and kick the ball, you know. That is to me the best thing. Karate, taekwondo, and dance for young kids, great also. Again, they're still having to stand and listen to their teacher. So keep that in mind. They're still having to listen and do, listen and do, listen and do, which they've been doing in school. So I think it's good. I think it's a good activity. Basketball, baseball, softball, really hard. And I come from this, I played softball in college and my kids played softball and baseball. Like I'm a huge fan. It's really hard at a young age. Lots of rules, hard ball, wait until they're that age and start like in a T-ball kind of, you know, start young. Volleyball, everybody wants to play volleyball. So hard. Don't start till they're 10. They don't have the ability to do it. And I'll say this too, and this is what I've learned in my experience. 3rd grade is about the time where kids can connect the dots of strategy and doing what I'm asking you to do. Okay, so when you throw this ball, I want your elbow to be high and I want you to point the ball behind you. and then follow through. It is not until 3rd grade where they can actually process and do those things with their body. Strategically, when we play games in PE, kids don't really understand, okay, how can my team be successful? How can I be successful? How can my teammates be successful? What's the strategy here? Obviously, there are going to be kids in 2nd grade and 1st grade who will start to pick it up. But as a whole, 3rd grade is about when they put it together. What were you going to say?
Oh, I'm itching my elbow, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I agree now, right on, good message.
I mean,
So-
we started baseball this season,
Like that kid in
they're
the
8, and it was good to wait.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
gets what baseball should be.
Yes.
Of course, his dad is Cuban, right? So he wanted him in baseball at like, before he could walk. But, and then we put him in I-9, which is kind of like a lighter league,
Mhm,
right? It's not this competitive,
Mhm.
I mean, I guess it could be, but it's really not, because it's
Mhm.
less organized.
And I'll say this, I'll probably need to end on this because we're almost done, but I have a theory that every child has a window. And this is coming from like organized sports. Boys and girls are different. When you open the window at a young age, it's going to close sooner. Okay. And this is what I mean by that. If you start your kids at in a competitive sports, we'll take baseball, soccer, whatever. If you start them early and it's super competitive at an early age, they're going to burn out sooner. So what I thought about when my kids were young is, when do I want my kids to be at the peak of their performance and interest? I want my kids to be passionate about something. And at what age do I want that to peak? I want it to peak in high school, because in high school is when I want my kids to be athletic. That's where I want their passion to be. That's where I want them to spend their time. Not when they're 10. And you see it a lot when they're 10 and they're big and they're strong and they're the best kid on the team. Well, we want more. We want more of that. Look at how good my kid is. Let's do more because they're so good. Well, your kid is going to come and look at you when they're 15 and say, I've been playing this sport since I was 8 and I'm sick of it. And so what I want to do on the weekends is play video games. What I want to do on the weekends is just get manicures and lay out by the pool because I've been doing this for too long. So once you open the window, it's really hard. Don't open that window too soon because then it's going to close too soon. So that's kind of my soapbox on, and I don't mean just an baseball team here and there. I mean more of a competitive, whatever it may be, practicing 3 or 4 days a week, playing year round. I'm not a big fan of that. But delay that gratification if you have a kid who's really good at something. And it's really hard as a parent because you're like, oh my God, my kid's so good. I think they need to go play on that better team. I think they need to do it more. It's really hard.
It's hard.
But delay the gratification because it's better. Now my kids are in high school and they are good at what they do, and they are extremely passionate about it. And so when they go to a party on the weekends and their high school friends might be drinking, they're not doing it because they are passionate about their sport. So just don't open that window too soon because you don't want it to close too soon.
Yeah.
That's good.
Another thing that helped my son too, because he will sit all day, every day, is baseball's on Sunday. And so it was really hard for me, did soccer before, to come home from school, have to change, get back in the car and go. He hated it. Because then you get home and it's like, eat dinner, go to bed. And so for him, making it be on Sunday when you haven't worked all day works for him. Whereas my daughter can come home and go to gymnastics on Thursday nights just fine. He needed it to be not on a school day where he didn't want to leave again, which I get. I'm an introvert like him. I want to go home and stay home. So
Yeah, it's super important that you communicate with your kids and know what they like. And obviously you know your kids, What
midline
questions
one
do
is
y'all
good,
have about?
I like your question. I didn't see swimming on your table.
Oh,
Is there
you know
a
what?
reason?
No, not at all. I think
Okay.
swimming is great. I think swimming is great at a young age. I just did, I wasn't
Okay,
thinking.
now the question comes, my oldest was born with one kidney. So swimming has always been the go-to, and she
Yeah.
happens to be good at it. Never pushed it into competitive, like she's now even going to like goldfish. I'm trying to keep it like as much as it is just for a regular activity, so she doesn't lose it. But every other sport seems like, I don't want you to get hit, like
Mhm.
she's limited.
Swimming is
into-
awesome.
Okay.
So good. It's so good for them. It's competitive. You could do it at all levels. You can do it all year. I mean, yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, my daughter goes to swimming.
That's awesome.
Well, kids evolve and want to do what their friends are doing too. So I've always been an advocate with my girls about trying everything, especially when you're little.
Yes.
Try everything. Not what I like, play basketball. Not what I like. Not about me.
Right.
Like I want you to do. I think sometimes parents too, they get caught up in like, well, I excelled at this. They're going to
Right.
be the junior, you know,
Exactly.
whatever. They're going to play college ball and
Yes.
we'll do that, and then it's not the
Yes.
appropriate thing to do. So
I was a high school softball coach for 15 years, and my kids started playing softball and baseball, but neither one play now. So,
Yeah.
you know, do what they like.
Like you just spoke. Fire softball and baseball and like very competitive.
That's awesome. And then Katie got a maid out there.
well, I do have to say, I have mad respect for the baseball, softball parents. Because it is
It's
like
rough.
such a time
It's
commitment.
rough.
It
We
is,
go
yeah.
every day. We go
My
every
parents
day.
were always like
Yes.
basketball games in and out, volleyball games in and out.
Exactly. I
Baseball,
treasure
Yeah.
club volleyball. I'm like, we're getting in,
yep,
we're playing on time, and we're
Yep.
getting out.
Yeah.
Softball and baseball,
Yeah.
all
no.
day, every day of the
Yes.
weekend,
Rain delays.
outside. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
The full-time commitment too.
yeah. It's brutal sometimes.
Well, we're available for whatever, like if y'all have questions about stuff, just email us, you know, get home and you're like, got to ask or whatever.
We are
Jennifer's the
too. 'Cause
expert.
sometimes it's nice to have just moms too, right? Like I'm not a nutrition expert, but I've raised kids to 8 or 16 or adults, you know, like we've got all this sprinkling of just
Most of the problems that you have aren't problems that people haven't had before.
kids not eating, kids
We
eating
all have
too
that in
much.
common as parents.
I've got one of each, so
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I appreciate the
thank you
time.
guys.
Thanks for coming.
There's no any kind of lunchbox that is divided like metal up there. Yes, but
Yeah, but that's
that
good.
keeps the food hot. Do you know that?
Yeah, Amazon, I just ordered today one for my kid. That has a hot pot inside and different small compartment, so you can put extra.
oh yeah.
vegetable and also the hot.
I've seen it.
So
Is the
it's
hot
not
like
$1.
round?
Yeah, it's a $44 Amazon. You can have it.
Is the hot like it's like a little round part that you can take
Yeah,
out?
yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen that one.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a good one.
I just found it, I was looking for it.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it. I have the hot pot, the small, like individual,
I have the one.
but she
yeah.
doesn't like that much.
Yeah, because I bring them rice, black beans,
Mhm.
and meat, and puree, and get everything mixed.
Yeah, that's what I found with that one, is that you only have one compartment that stays hot, and everything else it's open. So
Yeah.
I was able to buy like the thermos that come, and I put 3, and they fit. On a regular lunchbox, they put one this way and the other one across it, and they fit.
Yeah, and I noticed a lot of kids do that. They have multiple of the thermos inside their actual lunch kit.
Yes, because I have a picky one that it's picky with the hot and with the cold. So I bought like whiskey stainless steel ice cubes, and I put them for the vegetables and for the fruits.
Mm,
And then
that's a
keep
good
it all in
idea.
one hot, so I don't have
In the same
complaints.
box?
Yeah, in the
In
same
the
box,
same
in the
lunch
lunch
box.
box. It's in the lunch box, yes.
Well, I put it, they have that like the little bag,
Uh-huh.
so I put the turbos that are
It's like 3
cylinders.
different ones.
I have 3 different ones, and then I
Okay.
put the snack in a little bag, and everything fits on the regular lunchbox. But I tried that bento one, and she complained, because then you have the hot one, but I put vegetables and fruits, and they were like, not cold. So that's how I got into the whiskey.
Yeah.
So there's no way to have several compartments in one box that keep temperature. That's what those are.
It's hard.
It's like flashing back to my lunch growing up. I'm like,
I know, mine was
I
like,
was like in a sandwich.
your sandwich, your chips, your apple, and your cookie.
I know.
And your
I
sweet
saw
bits.
mom sending us pizza stuff, and and it was all cold. I was like, I will get it all back.
Yeah.
I'm like, the cucumber has to be cold. The
But
carrots have to be
over,
cold, that's
so
it.
you have everything back here.
So did I
Oh, I made one lunch.
Yeah,
She makes a really good
But my daughter always comes mommy.
Yes.
food is
Yes.
cold,
Yes.
I eat it like
I
this.
do.
I do that, it's
not
Yeah.
lunch. I don't know
Yeah.
why. I don't know why, because, you know, there's so many.
You always have a microwave,
You know,
so-
they need